the stuff you learn in your first band is just so useful when you start another one, because you're just like, oh, I've been screwed this way, I've made that. Success for me means that Johnny and Jeremy can live a life where they get to make music forever, Be influenced by that, love that, appreciate that, but just put it all kind of in your catalog and make what you make. Hi, I'm Aaron Martin from Okey Dokey, and this is Makings of an Artist.
Back to the Makings of an Artist podcast. My name is Sebastian Cowstill, and today we have with us the talented band from Nashville, Okey Dokey. Man, thank you for being with me. How are you?
I'm good. Johnny is not with me today. We're quarantining.
Of course.
So it'll just be Aaron today, but Johnny's with us in spirit. I'm good, though.
Beautiful.
It's a beautiful day in Nashville.
Real quick, could you tell us both your role and his role in the group?
I do most of the writing stuff and kind of tone, and we do have sort of a storyline that sort of threads through the records, and I kind of keep that consistency. And then Johnny is very much business side and sort of checks creative decisions always. And then and he also writes when we write songs. And then Jeremy is our third. He records or mixes everything with us and plays keys. And we're just three amigos. We've been together for a minute.
First thing I wanted to ask off too is, how did you all meet? Where were introductions made, and when?
Probably 2012, late 2012. I had moved to Nashville. I do visual art as my main profession, so I was going to school. Let me see, my father had passed away a little before this, so I had a little bit of money to start over on. I was basically reaching out to bands. I would throw these free shows and stuff, and it was at a time where just house shows were really the norm. And then I would hit them up and be I would say, here's some artwork. I've already done it for you. If you use it, cool, but you have to play a show for me at some point. And then that was just kind of the deal. A buddy of mine, Trent Houghton, was in Belmont at Belmont University, as were most of the Soulcat guys. That was the band that Jeremy and Johnny were in before Okey Dokey. I started doing artwork for them as a faux album package thing, and then they asked me to start playing bass at that point, which I wasn't really, that wasn't really my plan. And we weren't we were just getting to be friends. And so I started touring with that. That band broke up later. I was not in the picture at that point. And then Johnny approached me about starting a new band. And I had never really written before, so I kind of was just if it's bad, it's not my fault. And
yeah.
But I'll try. And then the obvious decision was to get Jeremy involved, because he's always been the dude for both of us. So, the three of us have been best friends for years now, and it's just been really smooth. So I'm thankful, to have the two of those guys involved. And just to see things rolling out as they are and getting the experience out of it. It's super cool.
What do you think was the belief in you three specifically versus the other band members they had before and stuff? What brought it to specifically you guys?
I mean, I think maybe just our point of view on things was really pretty different. But I mean, the band that we used to be in, it was like 6 people. Everyone was kind of there for sort of a different thing. And I always knew that, because I was there for more just the joy of going for it. That was my whole concept, was just, I'm here because why not? Jeremy, I think, was there because he likes to solve problems, and 6 people is a really good puzzle. Johnny loves to build things. He's a hard worker, and I think that was his first real effort in making something into what it should be. So I think that was just a massive learning experience for him, which the stuff you learn in your first band is just so useful when you start another one, because you're just like, oh, I've been screwed this way. I've made that. I've run out of gas here. It's just dumb. Like if someone says they have room for 6 people in their apartment, they do not, and they probably have people, like animals, and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. It's like, so when we started this band, we were like, okay, no crashing on pads. We got to stay healthy. Working hard is key. But yeah, anyway, there were just like 6 dynamics in the other band, and everyone was there for a different reason. And so when I left the band super early, like 2 years maybe before it ended, just because I was like, I'm just here to hang and I'm not doing artwork anymore. So I need to go back and, give attention to the reasons I'm here in the first place. So really, I think what it is like, when that band broke up, there were like 3 or 4 other bands in Nashville that did the same thing. And, like a lot of the scene was sort of crumbling or rebuilding or moving around or growing again. It was just, everything was changing for a little bit. Also, there was the Ghost Ship fire in San Francisco, that big warehouse, like 4 or 5 years ago now.
Mm-hmm.
That was terrible. But at that same time, Nashville's fire marshal shut down like pretty much every DIY spot in town. So, people had to either start venues, open businesses to do that kind of thing, or figure out how to take their bands out of just our city, because you couldn't just play shows everywhere all the time. It was very much a transitional moment. So I think really what it was is just, Johnny is a wonderful opportunist when it comes to seeing like what people could try out, like he has a really good eye for that. So I think when all of these people separated, he saw like kind of a lot of space for something new. I was at the time gonna start playing music just because I thought it was fun again, to write. But yeah, Johnny hit me up, and then Jeremy is just always there to make something great. So Jer was just, he's always ready for something to work on. So I mean, I also just think like I kind of set him up a little bit, because Jeremy's like, he is a special person when it comes to just making things ridiculous. And so yeah, I was like, hey, will you play in this band? We can you can just bring a Casio. And I was like, he's never gonna do that. So then that became like a Juno and a Rhodes and an MS-10 and Arturia, and like his his pedal board is like 12 different things, and he plays keys, and it's just ridiculous. But anyway, I think that Johnny saw space. I like to create, so I was down to fill whatever he wanted to set up. And then Jeremy is just a person we both trust, and we have a lot of fun writing with. And he teaches me shit constantly because I'm not like a music theory person at all.
Yeah.
I wish I was. There's so many things to memorize, and
Yeah.
it's like learning programs and like drawing things constantly and writing songs every day. So like as long as I can hear where I'm going, I don't feel that bad right now. But Jeremy would be like, "Hey, you're way off."
So would you say in Okey Dokey, you said a big thing of the old stuff was a lot of people were there for different reasons. Are you guys there now for similar reasons? Has your guys' three viewpoints aligned?
Yeah, I mean, I think the viewpoint that we all have is really like, I think it all boils down to like success. And that doesn't mean business wise, really. It means all of it. So, like, my role is creation. To me, like, for that to be successful, I have to have songs that live on their own, which is why we release singles, because every song should have its own breath. For me to be successful, my words need to be things that I can sing for the rest of my life and not give a shit about because I've said the right stuff. Also, just, painting a picture in our music of a place other people can go while, really throwing myself into it because I think I should. That's a challenge, but it's somewhere that I think I personally strive for success. So, I think for me, if I create the right things and I have the right mentality the whole time, like success for me means that Johnny and Jeremy can live a life where they get to make music forever. I think Johnny definitely aligns with that. And he wants, he kind of wants the best for us. And for Jeremy, success is music that stands up to kind of everything, which involves like the things people are listening to, the things that Johnny as more of our rudder through the way that we should pace ourselves, the things that he has a plan for. And then also making music that backs up the stories that I've written and, the characters that exist in the songs. And, just success for us is just the three of us succeed, and that just means that we have a lot of focus and support one another, and inevitably that means playing for shows with or audiences, which is where all of that stuff goes. It doesn't really feel complete until you're playing a show and there's people singing. So
Mhm.
you know success is the goal, but that means like seeing a lot of people enjoy themselves and seeing my friends get what I think they deserve, which is a life where they can pursue their talents. And yeah, I think we're all on board.
In those early days of Okey Dokey, were these kind of conversations you guys had when like, this is kind of what we want out of it, or did you guys just kind of go with it and, you know, find it out along the way?
In the beginning, the stipulations, at least our core stipulation, which this would be between Johnny and I guess, because Jeremy, we essentially like Johnny and I made sure that we had songs that made sense before we really messed with Jeremy because we didn't want to bother him until we were happy with what we'd done. And that's all, that's just because Jeremy's the shit. You even your best friends, you don't waste their time.
Mhm.
So anyway, my stipulation was just like I didn't want to be in another band of just like dudes standing together, just all the time. Like, yo, like I hate that, man. So I was like, I really want to approach like my favorite band on the planet is Gorillas. I love them. They're like that group, whatever they really are. at this point are just my in the world. And that's because I'm a person that's, I'm a creative. I strive to find things that are like fully realized, and that project is just massive. Um,
Hmm.
and seeing it live is just insane. And so that's always been kind of my dream. So when Johnny hit me up, I was like, okay, we can do this, but like you and I have to be on the cover of everything because that's just personality forward. And I was like, we can write the craziest songs and do the goofiest stuff and be who we are, and even be who we're not sometimes if we want to go really off the rails. But as long as, our personalities are kind of on the front, we can't really hide ourselves from being attached to it. And then I was also like, we're only two people. So, since the whole point of this is that bands have broken up and people are looking for things to do, I want to involve just as many friends as we have and everyone that we can. And at this point, there's been, I think, like 70 or 80 people on this project, recording, singing, performing live, and in our liner notes, I always say that Okey Dokey is Johnny, myself, Jeremy, and then just a slew of other people, because it's totally what it is, to me. So those were the stipulations. Was like, I want to do what I love about hip hop that I don't think like indie or whatever you want to call it bands really do. Everyone's so afraid to like cross label lines. Like bands for the most part don't make really much money unless they're just really smart about everything.
Hmm.
So like I just didn't want to get sucked up into the same monster of just like album cycles. And I wanted to create. If we were going to have a band, I wanted to make a band that we could be excited about. So later we started to realize that since we collaborate so much, it's kind of become a timeline for us. So when we tour with bands or we go out on the road, we really try to set up opportunities to record songs with them so that we kind of have that timestamp involved as well. Having like all of this crossover stuff going on is really exciting. And we just finished a new album where we finished it a month or so ago, where we reached out to people that we looked up to from other bands to hop in and help us see what we don't know. So it just keeps growing, and that's what it should be, I think. So I think that's the mantra.
That's awesome. One thing I really wanted to kind of ask you about was, you said you and Johnny were and Jeremy were in a plethora of bands before Okey Dokey that played all sorts of different music. I think I saw you guys were in a disco band too, or something like that, or Johnny was, or something.
That was a thing that Jonas, st- that one turned really into like, that one's hilarious. Jonas was actually like a couple seconds away from maybe being part of Okey Dokey for a little bit. But then he was like, man, I got this idea. I just want to go for it. So then there was like the disco band, which is that disco cane or something? What-
I think so. I think that's what if I remember right.
yeah. It wasn't very like long. that
Yeah.
But that became a Sparkle City disco, really, I think. Now Jonas is living it up.
What I wanted to ask you though is, being in all sorts of bands with all sorts of different sounds, how did you eventually land on what now is that Okey Dokey sound?
Honestly, like that is so that is like I wish I did have an answer. Like some people do have an answer. Like Like, I have a friend who's in a band that's pretty notable, but I don't wanna say who it is because I don't wanna, like, let his the cat out the bag. But I once heard him say, like, "Yeah, I don't know what's going on. We're popping off. I just thought it'd be really cool to put '90s hip hop beats to psychedelic rock." I don't know. Like, that was his life changer, was, like, an idea that set up this whole sound. And, I wish I had something like that, but you know what it is? Okay, the first album, I wrote most of it on this really garbage, like, Sunday school organ thing, like a little organ with the drum machine, like the bass foot pedals. My friend Evan, who I lived with at the time, he was like, "Man, I got this organ my uncle gave me." He was like, "No one's gonna play this stupid thing." And Evan was like, "I guarantee one of my dumb friends in Nashville will play it." And it was just in our house, and I'd kind of get stoned and just sit on this organ, and I wasn't really planning on much. But then I started to get really good at playing this one just dumb instrument. I was moving out of a house and I threw it down the stairs as kind of a ceremonial goodbye. It just exploded. It was awesome. Um, but yeah, like so it was kind of this like synthy organ Casio tone setup that I had, and I was kind of just like writing. Like, I used to drink. I don't drink alcohol anymore. But when I did, we'd have people over and everyone would drink a bit, and then we'd all just kind of sit and sing, and and I would just sit at the organ and people would like tell me things to sing about, and I would just kind of freestyle because I would just sing about whatever. And then that turned into kind of like my favorite writing setup. And you can hear it in the first album in a lot. Like, I wrote Wavy Gravy on it. I wrote Coffee Boy on it. I wrote Congenial Man on it. I think Low Rent. Just our first batch of songs were on this like church organ thing. And I think the sounds just sort of give me a romantic vibe. And so really that was the setup, is like we were starting a band, we had influences we liked, and then we had this dumb organ that I was writing everything on. It just my influences at the time, which are still consistent to this, but it was like I was listening to a lot of the Beach Boys again, and I love Lee Hazelwood. I was listening to just shit tons of Lee Hazelwood, and Roger Miller, just Tiny Tim, like all of these, these really like goofy songwriters.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was like I was writing songs for the first time, but I had like this organ, this perpetual, just like do 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 in my head all the time, and I'm like a sidewalk writer. I like, or that's how I started, I guess. I'll just it's called wombing, I think is what Brian Eno calls it, but it's like where you're in a shower, you're really warm and nothing's really there, you just kind of write your best stuff, and just the words flow out. I walk a lot usually, so
Mhm.
the same thing will happen to me. I'll just be like kind of kicking rocks and then just start singing about something, and that's just usually, it just ends up being a song, because the second I laugh about it is kind of just like, all right, that's the song. And now that's become just kind of that same process, but with studios and other players and people there to help. I'm still very like, just give me a beat, give me 2 seconds, and let's thought come out. I very much like that process. So I don't really sit down and sketch out words often, because it's just never really been the thing. It's more so just give me 5 minutes to pace around the room. Give me like, it's just more free form. I like it a lot more that way.
I wanted to ask, when was it that you guys felt like you had really struck gold with this project and really had something you felt was going to work personally between each other and would catch on with audiences?
I'll say the moment when I got excited about it, when I thought something was kinda gonna pop off for us was, we had this dude, pretty early on, we just, we didn't know. Okay, when you make, mistakes, you remember the ones that you've made, but then, the ones you haven't yet, you still don't have any scope of what you're doing, so, you know, we had all of the history we had before to guide us, but none of this new shit, so there's Spotify playlisting and stuff, and that's like the new world
Mhm.
in what 2018, I guess, when we were doing this. Our first album had come out. We were kind of looking for help and ways to just sort of bridge gaps for the next album to come out. And there are several, kind of services and things you can look for that'll help a musician promote themselves. One of which is this, playlisting platformers. It's like, people who will just fish for you. They'll be like, hey, I got this person. How's your playlist? And they just kind of look for things. And it is a real business. But as our new band started, we kind of were like, yeah, this guy hit us up to talk to us about that. And let's see what he has to say. So we meet him at Pinewood Social. It's this bowling bar. It's like a big lounge. Uh, I like to work there. Good coffee. But yeah, he meets us there, and he's like, "I think you guys blah 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 we can work together." And then we're like, "How much is it?" And he literally writes this number on a napkin. He slides it over, and we're just like, "Okay." And Johnny and I look at each other, and I look at this napkin, and it's like $4,000 or something for a couple months, whatever. And I'm just like, oh, go think about it. And we go think about it, and we're like, he has worked with some people. Maybe he's good on it. We do need something to just start this off. And then we're having our second meeting with him, and he calls us, and he's like, let's eat at one of my favorite restaurants. And he meets us at this really cheap, shitty place, and it's half of the restaurant is under construction, and we're compared to that first hang we had, the second date sucks. And he's basically yeah, I don't think you guys are ready for me. You just don't have that thing. And we're like, okay. And I'm just like, look, man, I'm so happy that we're talking. I'm so happy this is happening. I don't think we need your thing. I think we're good and we'll be okay. And I was like, thanks for your thing or whatever. And we go get in the car, and then Johnny and I look up Spotify, and I'm like, yo, dude, we were added to 3 curated playlists this morning, and fuck that guy. So that was the moment where I was like, okay, people are gonna pretend like they know what they're talking about, but we're just gonna write songs, and they will go where they'll go. And that just created some consistency for us, which was, I will forever be underwhelmed at every meeting until I have no opportunity but to freak out. I will be so okay for the rest of my life because of people who will try to just kill a thing before it can grow with just garbage. And you just got to stick to your guns. So that was the mentality that we got out of those experiences. And woof. I hope that Ding Dong is okay wherever he is, though.
All right. Well, just a couple more questions we do like to ask everybody here. The first is, what advice would you give to artists trying to make it today?
Whatever you do, just do not try to make something like those guys. Like if you hear anything cool, like just do not go, oh, I'm gonna make something just like that. Like just don't do it. Like be influenced by that, love that, appreciate that, but like just put it all kind of in your catalog and make what you make, because that shit is gonna pile up if everyone does that. Like you hear it happen every like 4 or 5 years. It'll be like every band sounds like this all of a sudden, and then like the 2 years after that are so boring. You're like, where's all the new shit? It's because everyone's done that so much, and then they're like, damn, I need a new thing. And it's up to like a select few people now to tell us what it is. Like, figure out what it is, tell us what it is. Like, just make your own shit, please. It's so fun when you do.
I love that. That's very wise.
I hope. I'm just desperate.
The last is looking forward. You mentioned an album and stuff, but what do you guys have planned? Have things changed because of, the current state of the world or anything? Or what can you tell us?
Ooh, yeah, I mean, I think everything's changed a little bit. I think,
Mhm.
I mean, things for us have obviously changed. We typically tour like 200 dates a year, so we just like to. So a big part of what we do is not going to happen for a minute. I know that people are booking things for like June and stuff now. I'm fully expecting, honestly, I am expecting society to get bored with this, I think, before it's fixed, which is unfortunate. I
Yeah.
really think people are just going to be like over it at a certain point. That's really crazy because right now we should be chilling the fuck out. You know, and it's so weird. Like before Corona happened, Nashville was hit by a tornado halfway through the tour. Uh, we found out that our home was kind of trashed or gone rather. And then, 2 weeks after that, Corona sent us back home. And then like a week after that, it was quarantine. So it's just interesting to watch things kind of stack up and then pass and then change, like before the tornado, it was like the election I was thinking about a lot. And then yeah, so after that it was, everyone's safety, and then after that it was getting home to see what the hell's going on, uh,
Mhm.
canceling things, people getting laid off, people not having work. Now it's like, I don't know, just watching the flow of a thing happening and then it planing out and then something else rippling. Because like now it's like, Corona has affected everything to where like, there's still like people who needed help from the tornado before their
Yeah.
jobs, and now they're like, just everything is such a huge mess. So my main worry and hope is that in the event, that things clear up, that there isn't this like this film of just unease on everyone, that there isn't this fear of crowds that exists, there isn't this like stigma towards getting close to other people. Like, the real thing we should have been doing forever is just normal cleanliness. Like you wash your hands when you've been in a dirty place. You don't cough in your neighbor's face. uh, you watch out for that kind of thing. And then when people are at risk and it's a well known fact, you try to help them by staying the fuck away from them. So yeah, I hope that everyone stays responsible, and then I really hope that at the end of this, people are so bored and just so tired of being alone that the
Mhm.
negative things associated with crowds disappear. I hope that this is a wake up call for a lot of the things that we don't freaking need, you know? And I think being locked
Yeah.
up in our houses will definitely put some perspective on the stuff, the stuff, what we truly require and what is just filler that ends up being clutter in your house when you're locked in it for 2 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I hope everyone's just ready to see other people again. And, it feels to me like hopefully just a mountain of shit preceding a beautiful period of
Mm-hmm.
maybe some different perspective. I hope for that, but we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, hopeful but realistic over here in Nashville. I know that I'll be in a crowd of people hugging everyone as soon as I can. For
Yes. Yes, you among many for sure when all this is over.
yeah,
But I agree. I hope people don't just get bored and have that early
no,
celebration.
yeah. We need to do what's rational right now. We need to also watching the news is helpful, but also it's like it'll pass. It's just gonna take a minute. So listen to some music, read some books. I don't know. Here, I have some. I'm reading currently to help me work today. Russian fairy tales. They're all
Oh.
they're all really great because they're super negative. They're hilarious. It's like Jack and Jill climbed the hill and broke their necks. That's what happened. Um, this is a National Geographic from, let me see, when is it? April 2013 about reviving species. This is a comic book by Asaf Hanukkah and his brother Tomer called The Divine. I
Oh,
just have
cool.
like references and inspiration when I'm working next to me. Goblin Girl, super cool. Help you in your Corona moment. I don't think Amazon cares. Just wipe your box down, please. And then here it
Yeah.
is, The World of Edena by my favorite artist, Mobius.
Oh,
It's
cool.
very fun. Anyway, I hope you're well. It's been good talking to you.
Yeah, you too, man. Thank you for coming on and having a great conversation with me. This is awesome.
I think you're the first person I've met since Corona started.
Yeah.
What's up?
Yeah.
Alright, well, have a good day. Johnny and Jeremy and I see you soon.
Thank you. If people want to find you online, man, where can they go?
Just, we like to have Instagram, because we talk to people. So hit us up on the grams, find us on Spotify. I like, uh, I actually prefer Apple Music and I make a list. So
Oh,
if you want to find me and listen to some tunes, uh, it's Smile Like the Wind Boy on Apple Music.
all right.
And then just Google Okey Dokey Band. And we're kind of all over the place now. I don't even know.
All right. Everyone go check them out there. Go stream some of their amazing work from wherever you get your music. Again, thank you for coming on, man. I had a good one.
Yeah, me too. I hope to see you out in Kansas
Yes.
before the year's over,
Yes. Whenever people can gather in large groups again, I'll be there.
I'm shooting me and all the people for August, I think. Hopefully. Anyway,
have
cheers.
a good one, man. Again, thank you to Aaron of Okey Dokey for coming onto the show. He was a really nice guy who had a lot to say, and I felt like I really knew who the group was better afterwards, which is always the goal. But they make some incredibly unique music too, so if you're into what you're hearing, definitely go check them out. As always, don't forget to subscribe though, follow us on social media, download the episode, and give us a little rating on iTunes. Become a member of our Patreon as well to get these episodes a week early, as well as other perks like monthly bonus episodes, custom playlists, some behind the scene videos, and more. So go check that out on our Patreon today at patreon.com/MOAA. As always, though, thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next episode.